So quickly rush, and nobody sees what's going on. Have I had my drink? Have I blown my nose?
My first husband, Mike, he used to work for one of the TV channels here in Australia. So some nights I'd go up there to pick him up after he was doing whatever he was doing there for work. Well, I did know, but I just don't want to share it.
Right.
And they asked because they knew me because I was going to their parties and stuff. And you go in there and they're doing something live on TV, and you should see them all just doing this and getting their bra straps right, and they stand up, getting rid of their wedgies. They say, "Okay, hang on, 10 seconds, quick, have some tea." Clear your throat. It is funny to watch those little bloopers before and after when they get on a coffee. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well.
So, what do you know, Mike?
What do I know? Well, what I do know is that people's emotions are settling down as we end this retro nonsense once again, and people are becoming more rational. Thank God. With the spiritual report that will go up later, there was a lot of really serious questions that are just not yes/no answers, and I try and channel her to get a deeper answer to the yes/no, because sometimes the table tilts and a gentle yes goes down, which doesn't mean yes 100%. It usually means there's a condition to it, and I have to try and get what the condition is. And so some of the questions we could have spent an hour alone on trying to get the correct answer. But they were great questions, and you'll see them all later today, or you in Australia will get them tomorrow morning. So that was a busy day yesterday. Austria has got over 500,000 people, which means that now it has to be debated in Parliament for the right to put in the Constitution the right to pay any sum with cash. So that now has to be debated by law. So that's a good thing. And there's other sort of uprisings as well.
It is a good thing, Mike, but what we've got to realise here, we've got to be sensible and logical about their plans. And we all know that they want to get rid of cash. So the good thing that I can see out of this, the worst case scenario of the good is the fact that they have to admit that they don't want cash. So that's the worst case of the good scenarios here, because there's a lot of bad scenarios where they just don't accept it. It's got to go through legislation, but ultimately the very fact that people have said no, this is what we need in every country. We have here in Australia petition.org. I don't know if that's everywhere, that people can just go in and start petitions on this sort of stuff. But I think the more people that get on petition.org and start these damn, all you got to do is just tag in some of your politicians who are on the right side of this, So you tag in the people who you want locally and you say, look, I'm going to share the heck out of this. Hopefully we can get it up to 100,000 people, because here in Australia I know we only need 100,000 people and it has to go through Parliament as well. So for you guys to get 500,000 when you only needed 100,000, that's bloody good. That's extremely good.
And there's only 8.9 million people living in Austria.
How many, sorry?
8.9 million.
Well, that's 1 in 16 have said no.
Yeah.
You look at the Canberra event. I can't say too much because I don't want to get us blocked off. But you look at the Canberra event that happened here in Australia, and you look at how many people were camping there, and then you look at that size of that land, and they were only in vehicles with maybe a tent beside them, so it was very condensed. And you look at the acres and acres and acres, you can work out how many cars were there, which means there's not just one person per car.
No.
You know, you've got to average at least 3
Yeah.
because most cars had 4 or 6 people in them.
Yeah.
You know, and you then can multiply it out, and they're saying it was 500,000 people at that rally down
Right.
in Canberra.
Right.
And you know, on the news I was saying 10,000, but because I was saying it was an 8-hour wait to get through the gate. That's how many cars
Wow.
were queued just to get through the gate.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a lot of I'll just go there. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and it's sieving through and critically thinking what you believe to be correct. And that's what a lot of people now are doing, Mike.
Yeah.
They're seeing the truth as, you know, you can have 6 people report on one instance, and they'll all report seeing different things. Look at UFOs.
Yeah.
You can see, you know, 6 people will see a UFO in the sky, and they all draw different diagrams.
Yeah.
Some will say it was oval, some will say it was a cigar shape, others will say it was a blip, others will say, oh no, it had lights all the way around it. So they're all different versions.
Yeah.
But it's when you sit there and critically think, okay, what are the similarities? What is the truth in this matter? That we can really get to the end result of finding out what's really been going on the last few years.
Yeah.
You know, because it
mean,
is coming out.
When
There's
you
too many now coming out with the truth. There really is.
when you suspend your belief patterns that you've held, you suddenly discover that they are just programs that you've constantly been looking into. And once you start thinking from the heart center and you raise your vibration, you allow everything from the universe, spirit and the galactics, your own energy starts to vibrate. The authentic you that's within you starts to come out, and you start to see things in a different perspective. I speak about this in my talk. In this 3D world that we live in, which is inverted, they give you a tiny bandwidth of information which appears to be the complete story because there's little variations. And this bandwidth, you know, wants to control, direct and manipulate. And if you just keep going along with it, that's all you'll see. But when you open your heart center to infinite awareness, infinite possibility, you see clearly that the information you're given is far from the complete story. And this is what people, I think, are doing now.
That's right, Mike. You know, and it doesn't mean that they're spiritual people, you know. It just means that they're seeing the truth. They're waking up to the truth, you know. And that's the beginning of working out a lot of things like religion and other factors that come into like spiritualism, psychic abilities, ghosts, aliens, angels, etc. So this is a start for a lot of people waking up to the extremities of what we call spirituality, you know. So it is good. It is good that this veil is coming down for so many. Yay. Only took 2 years, but I'm proud of them, you know. Some people, well, it's very hard to stop the conditioning that we've had since birth, you know. I read this beautiful meme the other day. It said, on your birthday, when you're born, you get a birth certificate that says your name, your sex, your religion, and your address.
And your serial number.
Well, but those 4 things are already dictating who you are. You know, your sex. Oh, I'm a female. You're a male, so I must be doing things differently. You live in a certain city, so therefore you've got that conditioning of that environmental geography of where you live, you know, and that sort of stuff. So it is true. We are conditioned from the day we're born, especially with your religion status. You know, you look at any child and they always say that they're the same religion as their parents. You know, it's only when they get into adolescence or adulthood that they say, really? That's not me. See you later. I'm going this way. You know? So it is. You know, that's why with Tashi I try so hard as a single mother where I allow her to have a mix of everything. You know, my first husband, he was Muslim, for God's sake.
Right.
You know, so I give her things that are from that sort of culture.
Right.
Then I've been given opportunities to know what Catholicism is about. So I implement that into her as well. I know about the Jews and how they operate. So I give her that sort of religion. So then she comes to some discernment in her own critical thinking as to what she is as an adult, instead of me just saying, you're the daughter of a psychic, you've got to be this way. You know? So I give her that option and that decision making. So she is already a critical thinker, and she's only 16 now, but she's been doing this since she was 6. You know, so if we could all be parents, I'm not saying I'm a perfect parent. You know, I have my own fallacies and fallibilities, etc. But at least I try with her to give her the decision to be what she wants.
Yeah, give her a bigger scope to.
That's exactly right. So she's not inside that box of any set religion or way of life. You know. You know, I actually said to her the other day, I said, you know, if you ever get a girlfriend or a boyfriend, you know, I'm going to accept you either way. And she just looked at me like, because she's not interested in either sex at this point. She just does not want a girlfriend or a boyfriend. You know, it's so unique that she's 16 and she doesn't want a partner at this point. You know, so she's certainly got a head on her shoulders because she doesn't need a partner. She doesn't need a boyfriend. She's self-reliant. She's accountable. So I love it in her. You know, I'm doing a good job, I think. You know?
No, you are. Yeah. Now I've got a question for you. Before we go on to our first ghosties, this is on for next week's show actually. But what do you feel about this with the poltergeist? Once they start picking up knives, do you think they've crossed the line there, and then spirit guides and everyone else can step in without permission? Unless, of course, it's the person's life path to experience this. Do you think the line's crossed?
We've got a few different categories there, which I'm going to address. First of all, let's go with the spirit guide, like guardian angel type story. We've had so many stories on here. So this is what I believe, based on the evidence that we've presented on our shows. I thoroughly believe that if something external to our creation, right? So something external, some action outside of our control is going to occur where we get hurt and we're not supposed to be in our own path life, path or life contract, they will intervene. Yes. Because we've seen it so many times. How many times have we heard people saying, I had such a close call, I should have died that night, but then 2 years later I became this person who did this. So that, of course, they interfere, if you want to call it interference. Okay? They deliberately cause that interference to stop it. Let's now go with poltergeists who pick up knives. I thoroughly believe that as soon as they have that consciousness in that existence of what they are, they know right from wrong. So if, you know, I've had a car engine thrown at me previously, but it stopped about 5-10 foot from where I was. Thankfully, it didn't hit me because it would have killed me. It was a car engine. It took a big chunk out of the concrete when it landed, and there was smoke out of the concrete. It was that big. So that intention was not to hit me. It was just to let me know it was there. So we've always got to look at the intention. But if that had been a knife, axe, or some other sharp object that could have penetrated me, if it actually does connect, that is a very nasty entity who needs some really serious karma, which I don't do karma. I never interfere with karma because I know this of how extraordinarily accurate they are at retaliation, you know, karma. I don't mess with it ever, okay? But if they move a knife, especially in your direction, that's a nasty entity. You know, that's where you've really got to nip that one in the butt, because they know they've crossed the line, you know? And, you know, wow.
Yeah.
You know, I've never had a knife thrown at me. I've had pot plants thrown at me. I've had a car engine thrown at me. I've been pushed downstairs. That wasn't nice because I got bruised all over. My daughter was with me as well that night. You know, that wasn't nice.
Yeah.
You know, she's at the top of the stairs. I looked up and she's like, you know, did she need to see me fall down the stairs that night? No. So we got out of there quick, smart, because that's the best thing that we can do in these situations. If we're in someone else, like we were in the, it was in the city, one of the arcades in Brisbane City. It was a very haunted location, okay? And what happened is we got out of there fast because we were in its territory. That's what we've got to remember here. I was in its territory. So it was doing what it does in its own environment. I was an external factor coming in. So, of course, they were scaring me to get out. So I respected them and I got out. But if it's my house that I've just bought and I've got this thing doing this thing, especially with knives, that's where I would be seriously calling them in and saying, I need that intervention to take this thing away. Now, I have had angels in my house before. 6 people saw 2 angels in my house that night. And there was feathers on the ground that quickly dissolved, whatever you want to call it. They just disappeared. But those feathers were about 4 foot long. The quill was, the quill of a feather. The quill was about that thick. Yeah. Of these long, long feathers. So I know angels can come down and get rid of stuff. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I hope that answers the question.
It certainly does. Right. Let's get on with our first ghostly encounters. A compilation. This was supposed to happen last week and I couldn't find it. So here it is this week. Good. Let's roll. Yep. Okay.
This next clip's been dividing audiences over on TikTok. When user Leanne18.18 was filming her son innocently playing in a pile of autumn leaves, she never expected to catch something quite so eerie on camera. Take a look at what she saw. As the OP's son throws something across the yard, he pauses for a moment, almost as if acknowledging that there's something there. Then, out of nowhere, it looks like the boy gets pushed by some sort of unseen force. When this TikToker sat down to watch some TV, they probably never expected to experience something eerie like this. It was uploaded by user Prof. Peter de Klerk. The user explains that he's working from home with some TV on. He pans around the room when suddenly he shows this.
And my TV switched off in sleep mode. Is it just me? Or somebody sitting next to me on my freaking couch?
When the TV goes dark, you can see what looks like the reflection of another person sitting to the camera holder's right. At the beginning of the video, we can clearly see that there's no one else sitting on the couch.
But it happened again. I'm just at home, alone, working, and my TV switched off in sleep mode.
So why does it appear as though there's a second person in the reflection of the TV? Naturally, the comment section went for a paranormal explanation. A lot of people said jokingly that if it can watch TV, it can pay rent. But others were a little more concerned for the TikToker, saying that he should have the space blessed immediately by a priest. They were worried that it could have attached itself to the OP and could be a bad omen or a sign of misfortune ahead. So, is this some kind of spiritual attachment? Or is it all just a bit of fun for some TikTok views?
Malaysian hospital haunting. Surveillance footage from a hospital in Malaysia picked up something highly distressing. A ghost attack on a member of staff. First, in a waiting room, a chair is rotated and a door slammed shut. As you can see, no one is around to tamper with them. The spirit then moves to a separate room where a girl sits alone. The ghost gets her attention by moving a chair. Freaking out, the girl attempts to flee the room, but it is blocked by a torrent of flying tables and chairs. Desperately, the girl backs away and appears to be knocked out by the spirit as she abruptly falls to the floor. This footage has never been successfully debunked or explained.
Well, what do you reckon? I think the first one is genuine, for sure, with the little
I
kiddie.
do too. Okay, let's just talk about each one individually, mate.
Yeah,
The first
yeah.
one, what I like there is the leaves don't move.
Right.
So this is where the boy himself is being pushed. It's not like a wind,
No.
you say, that could have, kids, I've seen kids in wind, mate, they fly, especially with a puffy jacket on.
Yeah.
It fills up with air and they just take off like a balloon
Yeah.
because they've got no weight to them. So I really like the fact that the leaves didn't move. So that adds substance that something was just getting that boy himself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I actually believe in that one. I like that one. I think that one's true.
I think we
Yes.
both agreed on that. The
Yeah, good one.
second one, I have an issue with. He sounds very genuine. But, if you look at where he's sitting, he's right opposite the screen. And he should be centre of the screen. And where somebody would be sitting, you just wouldn't be in that position in the screen, I don't think. I can't express it too well. So I think something's a bit of a miss there with that one. What do you think?
There's a hint. When he pans his camera, he goes to the right
Yeah.
and there's nothing there. He's sitting on the end of the chair, right?
Yeah.
So there's nothing there. But when he pans around, there's a big orange cushion sitting there.
Right.
And you can't see how tall it is.
Right.
So when you go to the actual footage of where he's looking at himself in the mirror, in the reflection of the TV, you can see him moving, but the other one doesn't move.
Right.
So I actually think that he's seeing this cushion sitting next to him.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I believe.
Yeah. I mean,
Because you only see it very quickly as he pans around, and you see the because you see the cushion where legs would be hanging over the edge of the seat,
Right.
but the cushion's up against the back of the chair.
right.
So you don't see it. It's only that's just there as he pans around.
Right.
Because you're looking at the seat to see if there's anyone sitting there, but you don't look at the back of the chair.
Sure. Sure.
Right? Yeah,
mean,
so
do
that's
you-
what I believe. I
Do
don't.
you think he thinks it's genuine? Do you think he's genuine?
Well, me and TikTok, I'm going to be honest, Mike, if you have legitimate footage of a ghost, you don't put it on TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok is infamous for being fake.
Right. Okay.
It's for the wannabes.
Right.
It's the wannabe channel to go to.
The one.
Where you want the fame and glory. The ones who do it legitimately, like repeatedly, over and over, every day they do their TikTok videos. They just want fame and glory.
Right.
You don't put your real footage there.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
No, there's better ways. If you've got something real, you don't share it on TikTok. That's why I don't go on TikTok, because I'm legitimate.
Yeah.
And so are you. That's why you're not on TikTok, right?
Yeah. What about the last one?
Oh, okay. I've got a bit on this one. Okay. First of all, I've been to a lot of hospitals in my life and they are highly haunted.
Yeah.
So when this guy says the ghost moves to a separate room, maybe it's more than one ghost.
Yeah.
How do you know it's the same one?
Yeah.
Right? So that's where we have to take away our own expectations and what we think is occurring. You've got to go outside that box. So I've got a feeling that's more than one ghost that's happening in this hotel, right? hospitals are very haunted, all right? It's not a place that generally allows ghost investigations. You know, a certain ex-member of my group, without giving too much away about who that person was, you know who I'm talking about. You know, I nearly said their sex, but I don't want to even say their sex out of this, but where they used to work and what they used to do at their location, it's a definite no. They would not have liked to have known what that person was doing at their location. So not saying it's a hospital, it could be some other sort of place, like government place, right? But they don't, like hospitals specifically, don't allow ghost investigations, right? No. So it's unlikely that someone has actually set this up with strings and mirrors, okay? So that girl, I've actually seen that girl in that, like, kitchen area where she got dragged around. I've seen that before. There is someone out there that says it's fake. But every time I watch it, I just don't understand how it could be. You know, because you can see the walls. This is what I really like about this one footage. The girl in that room, you can see the door and you can see the other wall and you can see the other wall. And when you follow the line of the chairs moving, how are they getting pulled into a wall? Unless there was pulleys with strings or magnets, but they're plastic chairs. So unless they've got like magnets attached to the chair, that's extremely hard, because if that chair moved around inside, you'd see the magnets, right? So I actually do believe that one's real. I don't know how injured she got. I hope that she was okay, because at one point there it looks like she face plants the table. But yeah, I'd be certainly not going back in there for my lunch if that had happened to me. You know, or I'd be walking in with cameras of my own with another film crew to see what was actually going on in there. But again, I've got to stipulate, hospitals, I thoroughly believe that they know hospitals are haunted, the people who work there. But it's all hush hush, because no one wants to say, oh yeah, this is the place where people die. Hospital staff say this is where people get better. Okay, so it's that conditioning again that they have to let us, you know, this is where you come to get better. Okay.
I mean, we did see, we showed it, how in the coffee shop, an elaborate hoax, how they had pulleys and pushed chairs along and made the guy go up the wall, and books come off the shelf. So it could be an elaborate hoax, but I actually think this was a CCTV camera, because exactly the position it was put in.
Yes, because you can see all the walls,
And I think she probably fainted rather than was knocked out by a spirit.
So here goes the biggest question that I've written down. Are you ready?
Yeah.
The question is, we got told it's a hospital. How do we know it actually was? Was it just another room that they set up to look like a hospital? Oh, we've got this shot from a hospital. Hang on, let me just get my stethoscope, because I've got a stethoscope and some other stuff. If I put it on here, take my flowers away from behind me, this room would appear empty. I'm in a hospital room right now.
Hospital office.
Nurse Linda on deck.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad we sorted that one out.
That was good. I like those ones, though, darling. They were good videos, yes. Where are we going next?
Cynthia Henderson, Reincarnation. We saw an excerpt of this about 4 weeks ago, where she, I think she's from your neck of the woods, and they flew her over to France or Scotland. I'm not sure anymore. I've seen so many videos, I'm completely lost with it.
Is this the lady who went into the building and she said this used to be the museum and now it's like a lecture hall? And then they found out that it used to be the museum. And she knew all the rooms in this building. Right, Oh my gosh, how freaky is that? You know, so it's really good.
Well, this is another part of it, because this was a big story. So we'll just see a second excerpt from it. Here we go.
Following is the continuing story of Cynthia Henderson, who along with psychotherapist Peter Ramster travelled to France and drove to Normandy searching for answers about Cynthia's past life as Amélie de Cheveux. The Chateau. Before their drive, Cynthia was hypnotised so she could participate in a conversation in French, the language that would have been familiar to her 200 years before. The translator was a man called Antoine Le Breton, and Cynthia was taken back to life in France in the 18th century, and he asked her to converse with Antoine in French, which she did not consciously understand or speak. Surprisingly, Cynthia fully understood what Antoine said to her and answered him in fluent French. Sometimes Cynthia answered his questions in French and sometimes in English. Antoine was astonished and said she spoke French well, as a Frenchwoman spoke it, devoid of any English accent. Furthermore, he said she spoke like someone from the 18th century, as some of her words were old-fashioned. The startling occurrence was her French accent, where her strong English accent disappeared. Even the English she spoke while doing this sometimes had a French accent. She said that she had spoken both French and English during that life, but awake she had no knowledge of the French language. The next day they were to drive to Amélie's childhood home near Fleurs. However, the scenery may have changed, which may throw Cynthia off the scent and confuse her recall. She used to pass. She also described the small chapel near the house, not only its position, but its external and internal appearance, down to such details as the colour of the glass in the windows and the shape and design of the tiles on the floor. Entering, Cynthia described the inside of the chapel to the priest, where Antoine acted as interpreter, and asked the priest if he could confirm her description, which he did. Then the priest opened the chapel. Most of what Cynthia had told Peter Ramster in Sydney before they left was validated. A statue, wooden pews, and a hexagonal stone font on the left. A large cross and blue-grey diamond-shaped tiles on the floor. They were all, as she described, was under hypnosis. These were facts that would seem impossible for her to have known. It was remarkable evidence for the life she recalled.
So that was the second part of it all. This seems to be one of those cases where she really did have a good past life recall. Better than most.
There are some, and I've got to apologise. You just got me by just sitting down again. I went out just to make some more of my tea because it's getting cold, so I just put some hot water in it. She is an amazing research subject.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to look at her and see what is really going on in her experiences. Because, it is so rare that we have an adult who remembers so much about their previous lives. She has died now, hasn't she, Mike?
I think she has. This is going
I'm
back.
pretty sure she has passed over.
Yeah.
But what an amazing story.
Yeah.
It is a pity that they should make a movie out of it. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Wow, to really just let people know that this does actually occur.
Yeah.
Because there's no doubt in my mind this is real. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I think when they set about this documentary that they done, which is effectively where it's from, cost a lot of money. Flying her across the world.
It would have cost a lot of money, yes.
And so before, think of all the crew and the translators, even if they're local and you didn't fly them over from Australia, you have to be pretty certain before you do this that this is going to work, that it's not going to make everyone look stupid. So I think from the offset, they were pretty sure that this was the real deal.
Well, you look at even the pre-production of what this would have gone through, where they would have had researchers, investigators, they would have had interviewers.
Yeah.
Just those three there, they're on about $50 to $80 an hour plus expenses for going out and finding out if this is real, So let me just break those down. You've got your researcher going through internet stories to find out what's been written on her. Then you've got your interviewers, they go out and talk to like family friends, school friends. So they dig up all that dirt. You know, that's what the researchers would do. They'd dig up all, who did she know 10 years ago who could confirm this story? So they'd go and interview all these people first to verify if this story was real before they even put it into like a script of what the episodes are going to be like, you know, or a story of a movie. So, of course, they spent a lot of time and effort on this one, and rightfully so, too.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, my throat is quite sore again. That's what I get for talking all day. That's why I'm drinking my chamomile. Well, I've got, what am I drinking tonight? It's my lemon, cayenne pepper, and garlic, and turmeric is in the mix tonight. Yeah, so it's all fun when I'm drinking, but it helps the throat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Olive leaf tea helps with the blood
Good
pressure.
man. Well, I've got my Wonder Woman mug tonight. Hello. If I see a red mug, Dale, I've got to buy it, especially if it's got a superhero on the front. You know, Wonder Woman.
Well, I tell you, it's not Wonder Woman, but Wonder Dog. This next story of the angel dog. You know...
Good lead in too there, by the way, Mike.
Yeah. It's a lot of synchronicity here, but I want to say that, Linda, you presented me with one of the best synchronistic events, which I'll put together. It won't be on next week's show. It'll be on the week after.
Watch for it, guys. It's an amazing story that's coming up in 2 weeks, as Mike just said.
Yeah.
Wow.
Super. Okay.
Amazing story.
Let's go and have a look at this angel dog, and then we'll have some thoughts. Here we go.
Well, I was harbor master up there in Stamford, Connecticut.
Now, John Sheridan tells us in his own words how a faithful companion was spared by a miraculous visitor.
Hours and hours at a time, doing different things. And I needed a little companionship out there. So I decided I need a good, loyal dog for a friend. When it come time for me to retire, we moved to Virginia. I bought a farm down there where Sale could run through the fields and the woods. I'd throw him tennis balls and this and that. He always went with me. No matter where I went, if I took a walk in the woods, Sale would be there. If I hopped in the truck to go down to get breakfast, Sale would always be there with me, riding alongside me in the pickup truck, just sitting, happy to be with me. He was content to be with me all the time. One day, I come back from early morning breakfast, and Sailor jumped out of the truck and just collapsed. Sailor! He just hit the ground and stayed there. And I knew he hurt himself, but I didn't know to what extent. So I carried him into the house, and I put him alongside the bed, his favorite resting place. And that night, he wouldn't even drink water. He just laid there as if he didn't want to get up. And my wife and I were very concerned about it, so next day I took him to the vets to see what was the matter with him. The vet examined him, took x-rays, and found that Sailor had suffered internal injuries and broke some bones. He advised against an operation because of the fact that by then, Sailor was 11 years old. He didn't think he'd survive a major operation like that. We brought Sailor back from the vets, and I brought him back into the bedroom, put him in his bed, and he laid for another 2 days without moving. He wouldn't even drink water. He just laid there as if he didn't want to get up. I told my wife, I think we're going to put Sailor to sleep. She says all her prayers were for Sailor. She felt that God would send an angel to help him, some kind of help. I really didn't think such a thing would happen. Next morning, I got up and went out on the front porch and just killing time until the vet would be open to take Sailor down. I happened to look up and I saw this dog walking down the driveway. She walked all the way down into the yard, and she walked right up to me. She turned around and walked into the room where Sailor was sleeping. She walked right up to him and nuzzled him a little bit, and Sailor opened his eyes and looked at her, and he slowly got up to his feet. He walked right over to the door, and I let both of them out into the yard. Every step Sailor took, he got stronger.
Celeste!
He looked like a new dog.
Celeste! Come here, look at this.
I says, look at that. She says, Sailor's walking. God sent an angel to help him. I know he did. I know he did. So right away, I ran in and got some food and shoved it in front of Sailor, and he ate it. First time he had eaten in 4 days or perhaps a little more. I looked that dog over. It was a well-mannered dog. Someone must be missing that dog. So I turned her over and I found tattoo numbers on her leg. So I called the radio station up and reported I had found a dog. And about an hour, hour and a half later, I got a call from a lady who described this dog that come into my yard. She even had the numbers written down. She read them off to me. It was her dog. So I gave her directions to my place, which was about 4 miles from where she lived. Well, she come into the yard and the dog ran up to her and jumped all over her. It seems that she had just moved a few days before from Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. And as soon as they pulled into the driveway and opened the car door, her dog had jumped out and ran into the woods.
I'm so happy that I found you, beautiful.
Is this your dog's name?
Yes,
And when
it
she
is.
said that,
Celeste, come here.
my wife started crying again. She says, I knew it. God sent an angel to help my Sailor. I'm not a religious person, but I could see that. There's something took that dog to those woods right to my house approximately an hour before Sailor was going on his last ride down to the vets. Today, Sailor is 13 years old and just as loving dog as he was before, and more so even.
A faithful pet suddenly restored to health by the simple presence of another animal. It seems impossible, and yet Sailor is even to this day the living proof of a miracle.
So, logic would tell you misdiagnosis. However, too many synchronicities for my money.
He had x-rays done.
Yeah. 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 So how does the body heal with broken bones? It can only be a miraculous thing.
Well, I've got a broken neck and I've been diagnosed with a brain tumour, darling. So how does that work?
Well, here's something even stranger. And I know people will think, come on, Mike, you're having us on now. But there is the famous case of, wait for it, Mike the headless chicken. He lived.
That's right.
He lived for over a year, I think, without
How
a
long
head.
did a year? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh my
Google,
God.
please Google Mike the headless chicken. So, yeah.
Oh my God. No,
He exists.
I don't. And there's photos and there's videos of
Yeah.
it out there. I know,
Yeah.
but I can't watch it because I'm a girl and I don't want to throw up, Mike.
Yeah. It's not that
Seriously.
bad. It's really not that bad. But
For me, it is.
yeah.
Sorry, I can look at a headless horseman, a ghost, but I won't. Oh my God, that's just too Pet Cemetery type stuff for me, darling. You know, It really is. Or an old movie out of the 80s was The Reanimator. Don't watch that one alone at night because it's so gruesome and horrifying. The Reanimator. Oh, my God. Anyway, let's get back to this gorgeous story about the synchronicity that's occurred. When I saw that dog's collar with the word angel on it, oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, send me an angel, and the dog's name's actually Angel. So it's not just so much the synchronicities that we've got to look out for, guys. It's the actions way before those synchronicities could occur.
Yeah.
Because that lady who owned Angel the dog, she had to move to that area. So therefore the dog had to jump out of the truck. So how long had she been on the road for? How long had she be planning to move? How long, did she take to get there from where she'd been? I just don't get in my car today and drive even 3 hours and say I'm going to live there.
Right.
There's a process involved. You've got to get your new place. You've got to fill your car with petrol, pack boxes, get a removalist in if you like me, because I've got a lot of stuff. Crane for some of my crystals, but type stuff. Well, this one behind me, I don't know if you can see it, but I picked it up the other day. It's 12 kilos, this rock. And, I nearly broke my shoulder when I picked it up in a video the other day. God, anyway, but we're getting back on track. I'll tell you what I've written down with regards to this one. Sometimes we have to look for the signs that have been given to us, but other times the signs are right there in front of us where we can't avoid seeing them, and that's the story of this video. That dog, it came straight. Why was he sitting outside at that specific moment when it came through the gate? Those sort of things will drive us nuts if we really try and think about it. But and why did it only go into his gate, not any other house's gate? How did that dog know to do that? It's just like, I'm going to go down here today. I don't know why, but I'm going to go down this. I'm smelling carrots. What goes through their heads, But ultimately, the only thing that we have to really acknowledge here is that these miracles do occur. These synchronicities are so key to our belief of the eternal beings that watch over us every day. And ultimately, the more that we believe and we do find these signs to acknowledge their presence, we don't generally have to see an angel in like a humanoid being with wings. It can come in a straggly old dog that just runs to our gate, So, of course, angels can take any form, but this is an amazing story. I loved it.
I mean, I think synchronicities are happening all around us if we stop and just listen to our bodies rather than our mind. If we listen and we look and observe, synchronicities are happening all the time. I do it all the time, Linda. Like Tuesday night when we finish Circle, if I don't get a lift home, I opt to go a certain way. But then sometimes, for no reason, I'll go another way home.
That's exactly right. And you don't have to ask, why did I do that?
No.
I got home safely, so thank you for leading me the right way. That's all we've got to say.
And quite often, when I do change the route, I get off the trolley car, the Straßenbahn, and then I just jump off, and then the bus that takes me home is instantly there. And if I'd have gone the other way, I wouldn't have got that bus. And
we've got to look. And that's exactly. Sorry.
It's not always, great big mind-blowing eureka events. It's often very small.
And that's exactly why I was just going to say, one of my best synchronicity stories that I like sharing is I had to go to the shops one day. Now, we all have to go to the shops at some point, right? But this one day I had 3 loads of washing on the line, and I thought, damn, it's going to rain. Should I go? Or, well, I had other things to do this day, and I heard, go now, really loud from her, go now. So I put my shoes on and I went up to the shop. As I got back from the shop, I got out of the car, and as I was coming back into the house, it started spitting. So I went straight out the back and I got all my washing off just as it started pelting down. I was coming back under I've got a tin roof pergola,
Right.
so you can imagine how loud the rain is on it.
Yeah.
And as I had all this washing, 3 loads, coming back in, bang, did it come down in it was like an avalanche of rain.
Right.
And I thought, that's synchronicity. Go now. If I delayed half a minute, that would have been half a minute. That would have been on my my clothes when I got home. So, of course, that was like, if you don't go now, you're going to have to get wet wash them through the dryer or something, you know. But at least I got all my dry. You know, here in Australia, we all have clotheslines. You know, it's not like America where we had a dryer because you just don't go outside. It's always too cold or snowy. But here in Australia, you know, a lot of people don't have dryers because you stick them out in the sun because it's so hot.
10 minutes and you're cooked. Yeah.
So, but as you said, Mike, we've got to look for these little synchronicities. And then when we acknowledge them and we say, wow, that was so good, even though it's so minuscule, it's proof that they are watching over us. You know, so we all want, this is something that's coming to me a lot this week. Everybody wants grandeur. We all want to be rich and famous, but they don't go that route.
No.
We don't have to be, because they know we are all equal. No one is above and no one is below the next. We're all equal. So it's only our ego that wants fame and glory. And once we get rid of that, you know, this is what I say to people about law of attraction. Everybody thinks, well, not everybody, but a lot of people think law of attraction is how to make money. They don't operate on money. They don't have cash. So our wealth is described as generosity. Our value is our own self-worth.
Right.
Our treasured moments is when we're kind to others, which is a treasure, like value, currency, money. So they don't do money. So a lot of people who want money from the law of attraction, that's why generally they don't get it. Because it's all about positive vibes that we give to others, that frequency. You know, those pheromones or synchronicities we can create for other people, so then they have a good existence. I think you're, if you, in terms of manifestation, you're better off manifesting abundance and just feel abundance and then trust in the universe. So money will come to us if we're supposed to have it, because we all have life paths. You know? You know, I like using the example of my sister, you know. She, when I was little, you know, she was 4 years older than me. She always wanted to be a mother. She was a mother duck. You know, me and my other sister, she'd just like round us up, walk us home. And, you know, she was always in charge. She always wanted kids, you know. She ended up spending hundreds of thousands on IVF. So many miscarriages that she had, unfortunately, but she never had children. So is this where we know that we're never destined to have children? So we try and retaliate against it because we know we're never going to have it. So we try to have it because we don't get told, oh, no, you'll never have children. But, you know, it's like people who want to be wealthy and they contracted themselves to live in poverty to learn lessons. But then they want money because they say, no, I don't want this life. I want to change my life path now. But it's too late because we've already signed that before our birth. So I believe that is why some people crave things that they never get because they know they've already signed up to never have it. So, you know, that's what I believe. And I believe that's why I've always been poor, you know.
You was rich in a previous life, Linda.
But, and that's exactly right. Am I now the karma? But as we know, money is a currency.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
So currency is a frequency.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, darling, do I need money to be healthy and happy? Because a lot of people say, yes, I need money to be healthy and happy. I'm drinking natural products and so are you. You know, I'm 56. I don't take any pills. My doctor, when I do go over there for anything, you know, if I've got a flu or something and I go to the doctor's, he says, what pills do you want? And I went, what do you mean? And it's like, I can't understand, you know. Other people I know my age, they take 12 pills a day.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart,
Yeah.
you know. Absolutely breaks my heart. You know, what have they allowed to happen to their body in the past? And it's, you know, the higher we keep our frequency, like I've had a brain tumor and I've also got a broken neck. I should be a quadriplegic, you know, but the more positive we are and the more we say, no way, I'm not allowing these chemicals and stuff that they spray. You know, I just did some really cool research. I am not saying this is true. However, there is a lot of evidence that supports underarm deodorants may give people breast cancer.
Well, there's this guy that wrote this book, Reversing Disease Naturally, and he actually speaks about that.
Wonder if his name's Mike.
I think it is, yeah.
So, guys, if you do want Mike's book, I don't actually have a copy of it because I haven't bought it. Oops, maybe I should. But if you do want it, it's on Lulu. So you just put put Mike Cavalli into lulu.com and you can bring up his books because he's got two there. I've got two on Lulu, so you put in Linda Kramer and you'll get my books on Lulu as well. So I'll just put here as a comment. So Lulu, I won't say you or I, Mike, but I'll just put lulu.com for our books. Please put our names in the search to find us. There you go. We both have 2 books each.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, thank you for
There
that. And we better get on with our final story.
NDE? Yep, Brittany.
As time's pressing. Brittany's NDE. Lovely story. This is one of those, you know, where this is an authentic person. Again, this isn't a celebrity or somebody who's written hundreds of books and is, you know, professional. She's just telling her story, and I love it this way. So let's see what she has to say.
I can't remember exactly how everything happened in order. I don't know how long it happened. It could have been 10 seconds, could have been 5 minutes. I don't know. But I remember seeing my body floating outside of my body and being able to see the nurses and my body laying there as they're working on me. I'm able to hear what they're thinking. I also look at myself and I'm thinking, who is that poor sickly person? Like, I didn't recognize myself at first and I laughed about it. And then there was someone that reminded me of like almost like a shepherd that was with me at that moment. And that's when I ended up going to what I didn't think of it as the Garden of Eden at first. I just thought of it as this most beautiful scenery that I'd ever could imagine. And I had seen a large whale, a large bumblebee. Actually, the buzzing of the bumblebee is what brought me back into my body. The sound of the bumblebee, once I seen it, ended up turning into the sound of the machine I was hooked up to, the beeping. So the buzzing ended up turning into the beeping noise of the machine I was hooked up to, and that's what woke me up. During that experience, I also was in a tunnel that looked like an old, dark tunnel with fire lights on the side. And to the left was these light beings that I knew were my family. Some were family members that had not even passed yet. Some were ancestors that I didn't even know. And behind me was these demons. And I ended up getting dragged down to what I considered purgatory or the underworld. And that's when I'm only 8 years old at this time. So I'd seen horror movies and grew up watching with my dad. That was our thing. I was the Amityville Horror House when he's in the boat shed. That's where my mind took me. I was in a boat shed, tied down, where these demons were joking and calling me names and, trying to like cut flesh off and things like that, all these words. And until I could get my belief of God and believing of Jesus again, until I had that come over me, I wasn't freed. But as soon as I did, I was back to wherever. I was out of that mess. I was out of that place. I actually had seen God at the same time. I can't remember the order of this. I just know that he was to the right of me as these angels were there, and the wings were covering their whole entire bodies. Not even their feet was not even allowed to be shown to God. I know there was beautiful music, and I remember weeping I'm 8 years old. I haven't committed too much, bad in my life. And I remember just feeling like I committed so much bad in my life and that I just wanted him to forgive me. And I didn't want to go back. And he's like, well, your mother needs you. So you have to go back. She needs you. And that's why I went back. Like where I was sitting in the church booth. And he was enormous. He was not only like a human form, like a giant human form, but I could not look at him because he was so beautiful. I just felt like I didn't have the right to at that moment.
So, what makes an 8-year-old think that she's done so much bad in her time? This has to be a parental issue, I would think, and a consequence of watching endless horror films.
Well, we're never born nasty. We are born into love.
Yeah.
And it's only what society does to us that makes us have behaviors. And, when you look at psychology, because I've studied it for years, we have characteristics and then we have a personality.
Yeah.
And personality is what is we acquire a personality through the conditioning of society, whereas characteristics are what we're born with. So if you've got a characteristic of being dedicated, like loyal and devoted, you'll always have that regardless of the conditioning of what your job or your neighbours or your schoolmates or society does to you. So, I've got a feeling that this girl had those feelings because of someone else in her life that conditioned her to it.
Yeah.
Because it's not something that she would have been born with, and it's unfortunate most of us don't remember our childhood, So, if you've got someone saying, if you've got a baby screaming all day and someone says, shut up, you little twit, you're horrible, bleep, 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 bleep. You're hearing all that as a 2-month-old baby and your brain remembers the words. It doesn't comprehend or understand the dictionary description of them.
Feels the vibration,
but it knows the vibration of the word, so it creates that vibration of the definition. Exactly. But what a lovely story. I like looking at the synchronicities that happen, the similarities. Where she said she was talking about the scenery. Hello, that could have been my book. The tunnel and hell, the light beings, so many people see these light beings. We all have different versions of what they look like. But it is funny when, how many people say there's actually 3 of them, like what I saw. So this will be a time for me to plug the book of mine because it's on the cover. Look, there's my 3 light beings. There's 3 of them standing there. This is on Lulu, guys. There you go. Plug my book. Why not? Yeah, so, yeah. James is watching us. Hello, James. If you're still here. I subbed yesterday on 101. Please continue your channel. Good luck to both of you. Good on you, James, for subscribing. Oh, my gosh, he's good. Yay, good on you, James. Thank you so much for being here, darling.
Yeah.
You know, but at the end of the day, I love reading these NDE stories. I love reading the angel stories and the synchronicities because what's something that I've learned in the past 2 years is so many people are distracted by the reality of this three-dimensional world where we concentrate, we're thinking about, and we're paying all of our attention to what other people are wanting us to do. So, my pleasure, said James. So good on you for being here. Thank you so much. But, you know, at the end of the day, when we sit quietly and we think just about who we are and the person that we want to be and the love that we want to give to others and to ripple effect that out so then others around us feel that same emotional state. It ripples like you're in Austria, I'm in Australia. You know, that's a good 10-hour flight, I'm thinking. Maybe more because it's 7 hours just to Japan from here.
Oh, it's about an 18-hour flight, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I remember going over to, I lived in the UK when I was 12, but we went to Singapore, then we went to Greece, and then, so it was like a 5-day trip back in the late 70s to get to the UK. Well, at least I got to see the Acropolis in Greece, you know. I remember that, climbing up the Apocalypse. Anyway, it's distracted now what I was trying to say. But anyway.
No.
At the end of the day, darling, you know, the more we create this positive energy, the more, it doesn't matter where we are on the planet, we are connecting to the same energy frequencies with other people around the planet. And the more that we connect with ourselves, you know, it creates that A plus B equals D effect, like 1 + 1 = 3, where it's a compounded, beautiful effect that comes out of it. It's so strong. You know, you look at witches, not that I classify myself ever as a witch, but in covens, they either have 7, 9, 11 or 13 witches, because the more witches that you have, that energy produces more energy with more that come in. So, so James has just asked something. Could you guys say something about the trap, as David Icke's new book talks about?
I bought the book.
Do you know anything about that?
I bought the book, The Trap. I get all of his books if they don't get lost in the post.
Funny that.
Right. One of his books we gave up, I think, on the 3rd attempt. It just never reached us, but this one did. And I've seen him talk about the tunnel. And what I would say is this before we go briefly. I kind of agree with him in the respect that if we're living in 3D, self-limiting beliefs and believing what's going on in the inverted world, then our frequency is 3D. Therefore, we will reincarnate back into the 3D frequency, which is the planet Earth at the moment. But if we start living our life as a 5-dimensional infinite awareness, infinite possibility, as he calls it, when we pass, we will reincarnate into that frequency of the 5th dimension, which resides primarily in the spirit world.
See, okay. Just to answer James, I don't know the book myself personally, The Trap. Okay, but I do know David Icke. Okay, I've watched him many times. I love his work and I love how he thinks. But you know, there's getting off him. There are so many people out there who say that there are like 7, 9, or 11 different levels in heaven. You know, I only saw one, obviously, like so many NDEs see. We only go to that one level. We don't ever say, oh, if you pass this test, you can go level up, or you're going to fall down the ladder and go back down to that one. You know, it doesn't happen like that. But, you know, I don't know, because it's only because of my ignorance of not being there to see it myself. But I do believe that there are levels in heaven, okay?
Yeah.
Because the ascended masters are not in that same, I don't want to say area, like the scenery, the white the field of flowers, with the buildings and the mountains and everything like we have here on Earth, but only grandeur. But there are different levels of consciousness, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the more we do strive to open our hearts and our brains, or our minds, I should say, to the possibility of what we could acquire, that is where this magic can occur.
Infinite awareness.
We've got to let go of the conditioning that this planet has put on us. And most of all, we've got to let go of that ignorance of only believing what we see and hear.
Or programmed ourselves to believe. So, yeah.
Well, they're called programs on TV, isn't it?
And culture. We talk about culture, but it's really culture.
It is culture.
Yeah. Yeah, so, okay, Linda.
I just want to know who the boss is of that leader, the leader of that pack. I've got some words to say to that guy. Oh, girl.
Oops, Linda, it's that time. I've got to go.
I've got to go save my voice,
I've got to dash.
I've got to go make myself another tea because this one's nearly empty.
Yeah. Okay, everyone, look, thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week, and my table tipping spiritual report should be out later today. If you're in Europe, you'll catch it later today. If you're the other side of the pond where Linda is, it's night, and you'll catch it tomorrow morning.
I've got to go to bed. It's 8:30 at night here. Oh, it's 8:15 p.m. for me, so 45 minutes I'm in bed.
Right.
It's all good. All right, guys, you have a great day, good evening, good night over there, and wherever you are. Thank you so much for watching as usual.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Oops. Hang on. There we go.